kicking off this week the Regions Tradition, which is our annual golf tournament. And so last year we started having conversations about diversity in golf and how do we drive more diversity in golf. And so we wanted to continue the conversation this year. We talked about the purpose here. We want to have a candid conversation. We ultimately want these young kids to consider golf as another sporting opportunity. So in your role with the PGA Tour, you know all too well that there is this representation gap. What other insight would you have, and what do you attribute this to, and how do we get better?
You know, Clara, when people hear that question, they often immediately think about the sport, what they see and don't see on the golf course. But we have to look at representation beyond just that. We have to look at it throughout the industry, our careers, our workforce, the front office. And so it's a real gift to be here to talk to all of you about opportunities in golf. You know, and I say that with earnesty because unlike Ms. Smitherman and Hall of Fame Coach Smoot here and Madison and the others on the team, I didn't grow up around golf. So I really couldn't see myself as a place in the industry. And you know, it's so important for us as we think about that, how do we make sure that we see ourselves? And it wasn't until a PGA Tour executive recruiter actually said 3 words to me. I had 25-year successful career in public relations and marketing, skills that the PGA Tour utilizes every single day, but I never saw myself represented in this sport. But those 3 words were, you belong here. And when we think about pioneers like Charlie Sifford, Lee Elder, Jim Dent, Althea Gibson, Bill Powell, they fought for us to belong. They championed for us to be welcomed on the golf course, for us to play a sport that they so dearly loved. But what we've learned is we have to be more than just welcoming. We have to be invitational. And when we think about the sport of golf and the game of golf, it primarily begins with an invitation to play. And few organizations, I think, have done that more than First Tee. I mean, for 25 years, they have invited youth to play the sport by introducing it, life values through the principles of golf. And we have to be very intentional about that. So as they've looked at their impact over the last 2 decades, they've discovered that the African American segment is the slowest growing population among the members. So they are being very intentional about where they put their programs, who they serve, and we at the PGA Tour must do it as well. We know that there are barriers of access, customs, and costs, and it's important for us to have conversations like we have today with civic leaders and champions and corporate partners who want to work together to remove those barriers to increase that representation.
That's perfect. Thank you, Marcia. And Coach Smoot, turning to you now. So I know this is personal for you to some extent. So as Marcia mentioned, Hall of Famer, you know, you are now a coach, you've led a team through a national championship. What do you attribute the gap to? And, you know, how does that make you feel when we see the gap getting wider to some extent instead of closing in?
Well, I think Marcia hit it dead on the nail. I mean, access, availability for our kids to have access to just go to a basic golf course, a local golf course.
Right.
Many of our kids don't see us. They don't see us out there participating. And it's just like any other sport that we've all grew up playing, basketball, football. If they see this sport in our communities, of course they're going to be drawn to it. But if they don't see it, they're not going to be drawn to a sport that they know nothing about. They have to also see us as parents, you know, and I'm gonna just call it as it is. They gotta see a black man out there on the golf course. They gotta see a black woman out there on the golf course, because they're gonna feel as though they are one of few. Madison might see herself out there being taught, but that she don't see us. You know, and I'm very intentional about that. Here in Birmingham, we have at least, I think, about 89% of our kids live in the city of Birmingham, if I'm not mistaken. That is intentional for me when I get out there to teach young people like Ethan Hill is one of my students. I've taught Madison's mom and dad I'm very intentional about that. You know, and when I go to a local golf course, although I don't carry the PGA status, I'm working towards the PGA status, by the way. I'm going to teach our kids and give them something that's been enriched and stored in me as an individual. Because when I was in the Marine Corps, I'm one of 3 African Americans to ever make the Marine Corps golf team. Nobody taught me how to learn the game. I taught myself the game. But I'm going to give back to you. And that's what we have to do as a community here, particularly here in Birmingham. I mean, we got to get our kids off the street. You know, and that's I'm being very intentional about that. So I'm here to support in the way I can, as a golf coach, as a father, as a black man living in a city that's been gifted with a game called golf.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so, Councilwoman Smitherman, you know, I'll ask you the question, being alumni of the First Tee program. We've heard Marcia and Coach Smoot talk about how important it is to close the gap and the good that comes from having our kids consider golf as a viable sport option. What did the First Tee do for you? You know, not just from a skill standpoint, but really personal development as well.
First Tee was such a great program. All of my summers were full of fun. We would basically spend the day at the golf course. Usually most people, they spend the day on the basketball court or maybe the football field, but it was really the golf course. I really gained a lot of good friends, a very diverse group of friends. I have a friend that is a PGA golf coach now in California. I have somebody else who's an architect, somebody else who's an engineer, but not only that, but First Tee allowed me to compete on the national level with the youth games. I don't think anybody has really talked about that. That was under Jarvis Patton. And so that allowed me to extend my golf competition outside of Alabama. And we competed in California and Florida, and just getting the exposure at a young age really helped to set up the tee to play college golf as well. So First Tee was so amazing, getting those skills of honesty, responsibility, because you not only had to have a skills test, but you had to have a character test as well.
That's right. That's what I remember about the First Tee in Atlanta, is that there is so much baked into the program around character development and personal development, skills that carry you for a lifetime, really. So I'm going to turn to some folks that are closer to your age. How about that? Because we, well, for the first 2 roles, for the first 2 rows. And so Troy and Madison, so you two currently play the game of golf. And so I'm interested first with you, Troy. Did you consider other sports? What brought you to golf? What's kept you playing golf?
So I started playing a number of sports. Of course, I played basketball, football, lacrosse for a little bit, gave it up after one day. But I played a number of sports. I particularly played basketball. I started playing basketball when I was 3 years old. My dad always trying to push me to play golf, just because that's what he started playing it in his later years when he was like 20, 30 years old. And wanted to push me towards that, but I was always kind of on the, let's play basketball side, let's see where that takes me. So I've been playing golf for around 7 to 8 years. I started playing, actually playing golf, picking up clubs, going to go practice every day when I was a sophomore in high school. I was introduced, once again, through my dad, but my high school basketball coach, he was our high school's golf coach. We didn't necessarily have that many players. Actually, one of the players from my Coach Smoot's one of his first teams, he played from my high school. But we didn't have that many players. He was actually also a player from the basketball team as well, but he took some of us out there for a couple of months, trying to practice, get us better and stuff like that. So my actual first round of golf was, introduced through him. It was not the best round of golf, but I loved it. It wasn't the best, but yeah, I've been playing for about 7 to 8 years.
That's great. And so you played other sports. Something pulled you towards golf. It's kept you there. It's obviously been beneficial. You were on a scholarship.
For sure. Playing golf has been very, well, even to this day, even if I'm not playing, because I do caddy. I work in a field where I'm always on the golf course, and because of the character development skills that I've learned through golf, through trust and integrity, and all the, I guess even communication skills that's helping with golf. It's given me a lot of different opportunities, like internships, just speaking with people and knowing how to, hold myself or manage myself. So yeah, golf has given me a lot.
Is Coach Smoot a tough coach?
He's a big softie. He's a big softie. He puts on a hard front, but he's a softie. No,
Are you
Coach
for
Smoot.
real? Are you for real?
No, Coach Smoot. I
He
would
can say that because he graduated.
he is by far one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life.
I can tell.
He would do anything for everyone that he meets. So,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I owe a lot to Coach Smoot.
I can tell. Madison, you are a bit of a unicorn. So we have talked about the lack of diversity in the game of golf, specifically with black representation, but even more so, there are not enough women, especially women of color, playing this game. So you are in the 7th grade. How long have you been playing?
I've been playing golf for about 8 years, since I was 5 years old.
Wow. And so how did you get started?
I got started playing golf when I went to a kids' golf tournament that my dad was caddying at. And just watching those kids play, it just showed me that kids can play too, not just adults. And so I got my own set of clubs not long after, and I started taking lessons, and I've been playing ever since.
That's fantastic. Have you played any other sport, or this has been it for you?
I did play t-ball before I started playing golf, but it just really wasn't my thing, so yeah.
That's fantastic. Keep playing, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And so, Coach Smoot, back to you. When you hear Troy and you hear Madison talk about their passion at this age for the sport of golf, I'm curious as a coach, first of all, you know, what does it take to be a great player? And I want to hear more from you about, you know, golf being kind of different from other sports, you know, so it's a non-traditional sport that still has scholarship opportunities and a lot of things that the more traditional sports have as well.
That's a long task.
You got it.
Well, I tell you from my perspective as a coach,
Yeah.
and what it takes, it's just like any other sport. I know we got some tall young men out here probably play other sports, basketball, perhaps football. It takes hard work first and foremost. And no matter what sport you play, it takes hard work. Golf, it can lead you down paths that you probably couldn't think that you could because it's such an individual sport.
Right.
You got to be disciplined. I mean, you got to have the willpower to play through adversity. You got to, you know, pick yourself up when nobody else is there to pick you up.
Right.
And I think with golf, for me, you know, personally, in terms of other sports, there is no comparison. I mean, you look at if you look around right now, I know we got a lot of young men in here. You're gonna get to be my age one day. Basketball is not gonna be there. Football is not gonna be there. Baseball is not gonna be there. And you're gonna ask yourself, what am I gonna do? If you're an athlete, you're always an athlete. And I think every man in this room probably consider themselves still athletes, and we not playing football or basketball. Would you agree? So you're gonna find yourselves seeking for some level of challenge, right? You're gonna look for a challenge, and golf is one of those things that you can play until you 96 years old. And I mean, Dr. Lewis is still here at 96 years old. He's out here every day on the golf course playing golf at 96. So you're gonna look for something to challenge you, and golf challenges you. So to answer your question, and hopefully I did, I don't think there is any other comparison. J.R. Smith, what is he doing? Playing golf. Michael Jordan, what is he doing? Playing golf. Steph Curry, what is he doing? Playing golf. They now have a platform. Some of these guys did not even play the game growing up, but because of the platform, because of their careers, that's what they're doing today. So hopefully that answers you.
It does very much. And I think you raised a good point. How many of you are currently playing a sport? What do you play?
Baseball, basketball.
Okay, what about you?
I play soccer, baseball, basketball.
Okay. Football? Okay. Did you have your hand up? Basketball. Flag football. Okay. So there is already the interest in sports. Now we have to get you to consider broader options, right? Yeah. And so Councilwoman Smitherman, I'll go back to you more on the first tee, and you know, Coach Smoot talked a little bit about it as well. What has golf and first tee done for you kind of off the course now? So you are a well-established attorney, well-established councilwoman. How has golf been beneficial for you kind of post the first tee and even playing with Hampton?
Ironically, golf has toughened me up. You would think it would be basketball. I did play basketball. You'd think it'd be soccer, but it was golf. I just remember being on the golf course, and it really is what Coach Smoot says, like, there's no one there to pick you up. Like, it's just you and the golf course. Like, there's no one else to sub you out, like football or basketball, you're having a bad day. Like, it's just you. And then I know my friend here understand you got your teammates going, because usually you only have 5 people compete. So only one person can have a bad day. Only one person. You know, you be going around the golf course, you be like, hey, what's your score? What's your score? And you're like, oh, I don't know, Crystal, I ain't doing good. But because you're competing against the golf course, you're not competing against everyone else, right? Because if you think about, oh, I need to beat the golf course, you'll have one of the best rounds you will ever have played. So I definitely think that mental toughness, which has helped me to be able to pass the bar. People ask me, how are you able to be a council person? Because I was in law school when I first got on the state council, and I was studying for the bar. Golf. It takes a true person, and you know, in college you walk. So not only that, it's a physical and mental toughness to it. People don't understand that. You don't have carts when you compete competitively. You have to walk. Being able to, my first tournament in college, I had to walk 36 holes, y'all. You know how hard it is. And then come back and do 18. So it wasn't like, oh, coach, I'm tired. It's coach gave me some water, lunch, a new pair of socks, and I kept going. And so I think just the mental toughness, the discipline, what Coach Smoot has said, being honest, because on the golf course it's just you. Because usually what happens, y'all, you have usually a group of 3 or 4 people, and you keep each other's scores and your score, and sometimes people can miss maybe your shot. And so it's up to you, because they may ask, oh, did you get a 4? But if you really got a 5, you have to be honest and say, hey, no, I got a 5, or to call somebody else out on it. So I've learned such great character building, and I hope, you know, more kids of color are able to do it, because when I was out there, and this was 2001, I didn't really see a lot of people like me. I didn't see a lot of black girls like me. I think maybe there's like 2 of us. And so it makes me really proud now, 20 years later, to see girls like Madison out there, and knowing that she's not the only one out there.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know these kids have questions for you all as well, so I'm going to close out kind of the formal part of this. I'm going to go back to Marcia, where we started. You know, I think just by virtue of your role, Marcia, with the PGA Tours, symbolizes the fact that there is an awareness, and that the PGA Tour is dedicated to helping to close the gap, the diversity gap. What are some of the things that they're doing in the way of community efforts and things that you're working on?
Yeah, and I think we heard this one word several times today, and that word is intentional.
Yeah.
We love acronyms at the tour, and so much so that I've coined one when we get the question about what is it that we're doing in the diversity space. And I say TOUR stands for taking the opportunity to understand and represent the communities where we play. Taking the opportunity to understand and represent the communities where we play. And what that means is we want to be very deliberate. We want to be very intentional about where and how we direct our support. Community stewardship is the foundation of the PGA Tour. We host tournaments every single week in order to benefit those communities where we play. We have generated more than $3 billion, that's with the B, in charitable impact to nonprofit organizations across the globe. But we have yet to ask, is that impact impactful? Where are those dollars supporting? Who are they supporting? So we want to make sure that those dollars are reaching the most marginalized and underrepresented communities. And we've been very intentional about that. Some of the things that we've done is the Advocates Tour, APGA, we've increased our partnership with them. They were founded 12 years ago for the simple mission of putting more minority golfers into the professional golf space. HBCUs. I'm a graduate of one of the best. I know Councilwoman Smitherson will say not, but I graduated from Florida A&M University. But we're strengthening our partnerships across all HBCUs because we want to make sure that we are supportive of their efforts. We've generated $1 million to date directly to support the men's and women golf teams. Miles College has been a beneficiary of the United Airlines partnership, which supports the travel vouchers and some of the barriers that they face. We've launched a collegiate rankings where we identify the top 5 black collegiate golfers at Division 1, 2, and 3 schools. We scholarship them onto that PGA Tour and then our preparatory tour, our Korn Ferry qualifying school. And we've also launched an industry collaborative. So often people don't know the difference between PGA Tour, PGA of America, LPGA, AJGA. So we partnered together to say, how can we together be more intentional about making sure that people know they can play golf, not just at Greystone Country Club. They can play it here, they can play it in their backyard, they can play it at Topgolf. Also small business procurement. How can we take an $84 billion industry of golf and make sure that there are opportunities for small businesses to have a part in there? Education and skill development, and the list goes on and on and on. But most importantly, we've dedicated a resource. The office that I have, Community and Inclusion, is a resource where I am committed to ensuring that we're not just sitting in Ponte Vedra Beach in our desk, in our conference rooms. We're coming from behind our desk to be here at the Roebuck Community Center, to go to the PGA Works Collegiate Championship, where we can listen and learn from those who we want to reach, those we want to serve, those who we want to be curious about the game, those we want to work in the space as well. So this has been a real gift, I think, for all of us to be able to learn here and align with efforts that we know will increase representation and change our sport and ultimately change our world.
Very good, very good. I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. I do hope that you're walking away with a different understanding of golf and maybe a little bit of curiosity now. And so certainly if you have any questions post our closing out, feel free to talk to any one of us. Okay? Thank you.